In this demonstration, you will learn how to notify the data binding about property changes in your view model. Let's switch to Visual Studio. When you set a property in your view model, like here the selected customer property, the data binding does not know about that change. You need to notify the data binding so that it can update the user interface. To notify the data binding about property changes, you implement on your view model the iNotify property changed interface. Let's press Ctrl- to add a using for the system component model namespace that contains this interface. I press Ctrl- again to implement the interface. The interface contains only this property changed event that you need to raise from the setters of your properties. The data binding subscribes to this event, and when you raise it, it will update the user interface. To raise the event, let's create a helper method in our view model. So I create here a private void method that I call raisEPropertyChanged. Let's define on that method a property name parameter of type string. Now in this method, let's use the property changed event. Let's check if it's not null, and then let's invoke this event. We want to invoke it for this view model instance, and you need to pass in a new property changed event args instance. As you can see, the property changed event args require a property name. So let's pass in here the property name parameter of this method. Now you have here a simple method that you can call from the setters of your properties to raise the property changed event. So let's scroll up to the selected customer property, and from this setter, let's raise the event. I put the cursor on the property and I press Ctrl-, and Visual Studio has here an option to convert this property to a full property. Let's select this. Now you see, you have here a getter and also a setter, and here is also a selected customer field. As I prefer to start my fields with an underscore, let's add here an underscore and let's press Ctrl- to rename this field. Now down here on the property, let's use for the setter not an expression but a normal pair of curly braces. Then after the selected customer field is set, you need to raise the property changed event. So let's call here that raisEPropertyChanged method, and let's pass in here the name of our property. That's it. Now you raise the property changed event. Before we run the application, I want to show you a simpler way how to raise the event. Let's go down to our helper method. You can make here this parameter an optional parameter, and then, of course, you need to define that it can be null. Then, on this parameter, you can set the caller member name attribute. I press Ctrl- to add a using directive for the system runtime compiler services namespace. This caller member name attribute will automatically pass the caller member name to this method if no argument is specified. This means now, when you scroll up to the selected customer property, you can omit here this argument, and then the compiler will automatically pass the name of the caller to this method. The name of the caller is here the selected customer property, so the string selected customer is passed to this method. Now let's run the application and let's see the difference when you add a new customer. First, let's select here Thomas, and now let's click on the Add button. Now you can see the new customer was not only added, it is also selected, and you can see here the details on the right side. This works now because the data binding is notified about the property change. In the next clip, you will move the logic to raise the property changed event into a view model base class.